Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for joining here today on this presentation and discussion by Great Northern Minerals on the Camel Creek Gold Project in North Queensland. I'm going to introduce here today the Senior Geologist and Technical Director, Simon Coxell, who will be working through the presentation today, and the Managing Director, Cameron McLean, who will also be offering some outlook and a bit of a future strategy for the company as well. So I'll hand it over now to Simon to give you the presentation and a short video too, Simon.
Thank you very much, and good morning, good afternoon all. We'll run through a quick PowerPoint presentation, and then I'm proposing to crank up Micromine, which is the software, and we can get really into the nitty-gritty about the recent drilling. So this is just a short introduction video to Camel Creek. They're the previously mined open pits, mined down to approximately 25-30 metres vertical depth. All the soft oxide material was heap leached and produced about 100,000 ounces of gold from Camel. So that's how Camel Creek looks when you're out in the field and in the drone. You know where the project's located. We're between Kidston and Charters Towers in North Queensland, about a 2.5-hour drive from Townsville. So very well located, easy to get there, and good logistics nearby, near the mining town of Greenvale. The tenure position we have a series of mining leases which are all granted, and we've surrounded those by the exploration permits. So we believe we have all the extensions to the known mineralisation well and truly covered. Probably total about 650 square kilometres of ground in North Queensland, and what we consider to be prime exploration ground, as well as the mining leases that is really the focus of today's discussion. Just very quickly, the geology. All of the projects are contained within what's called the Kangaroo Hills Formation, a very tightly folded and structurally complex zone of interbedded sandstones, siltstones and shales. We believe it has a number of very similar geological attributes to Perseverance that Kirkland Lake have been developing. We've been very active over the last 18 months. We've completed in excess of 15,000 metres of drilling. We've established 180,000 ounces of 2012 JORC resources, and we've just completed a major drilling program, the largest drilling program at Camel Creek, which has returned some fabulous intersections. This is just a bit of a snapshot on the intersections we've received from Camel Creek. The ones in the bottom it is from the latest program, and you can see that the calibre of those is significantly greater than the other ones. The more drilling we do at Camel Creek, the more we understand the system and the more specific we can be in terms of our targeting of that drilling program. This is just a plan view of the extent of the previous workings, and it just highlights the drilling that we've completed. I also have a number of sections and long sections that are marked here, so we can go through and show you where that looks like. It's down in the southern portion here where the hinge zone sits, and that's where we've been very encouraged by that latest drilling that we've recently reported on the ASX. This is a long section, so we're effectively looking west, and we're pulling those significant intersections onto one plane. But you can see the numbers there, 36 metres at 2, 24 metres at 5.9, 56 metres at 4.14. And that zone that we've defined, which is the Hin zone, target zone, that seems to have quite a shallowly 30, 40 degree southerly plunge. And that's really going to be one of the key focuses for our future exploration programs. We're liaising with the drilling contractor, Eagle Drilling out of Charters Towers, and we're anticipating a start by the end of July. Most of the drilling contractors in Queensland are quite busy, but we've got a good relationship and we don't think we'll have too much trouble at getting the next program up and away. This is just a couple of cross sections of the drilling that we've completed here. It shows the area that's been previously mined and the drilling that we've completed. It's outlined a number of sub-vertical, steeply dipping zones that have been now demonstrated over about a kilometre of strike. These zones are consistent and persistent, and that's really the target for the future drilling. Another couple of cross sections, and particularly this is the Hin zone target area. So these were the results that we released in May and then again in June. You can see the first intersection in CCRC 50. We drilled effectively slightly down dip, and that's why we got a very large intersection of 56 metres at 4. We then thought, well, we better understand exactly what the orientation of that mineralised zone was. So we cleared another pad and drilled back the other way, which returned 24 metres at effectively 6 grams and included 8 metres at 15. True thickness of that zone is in the order of 15 metres. We then moved to the south, again, another 50 metres, and drilled hole 63. That returned 72 metres at 1.26, and that true thickness there is more like 30 metres. Obviously, that's a prime area for the follow-up drilling that we're planning to complete. But some very lovely looking rocks there in the RC chips, and part of the next program we're planning is to drill some diamond holes so we can really understand what that mineralisation looks like in HQ diamond core. Just an introduction to the rocks. If you wander around at Camel Creek, I guess there's a number of things I'd like to point out. Number one, the slide on the left shows the very weathered siltstones and shales, and then sitting on top of that is what's called the tertiary overburden, and that's a younger sequence of rocks that masks the underlying basement mineralisation. So we believe that there's a number of areas within our tenure, both on the mining leases and on the exploration permits, where that younger cover, which is between, it's up to 20 metres thick at places, often it's 5 metres thick, but that may be masking underlying bedrock mineralisation. The other two slides that I've got here is again a snapshot of these very tightly folded sedimentary sequences. I'm a great believer in fractals, and what that means is what you see on the small scale, you can expand that out to a larger scale and it still holds true. It's almost a function of physics, I guess, in a way. But you can see these subvertical quartz-rich structures, which is what we're drill testing, but on a much larger scale. And then the slide on the right, you can see the development of significant quartz veining. And that's what we see in the RC chips, and that's what we'll see in the diamond core. These rocks have gone through multiple generations of structural dislocation, the introduction of quartz, brecciation of that quartz, and then finally the introduction of the sulfides. Very fine sulfides. We've got some quite high antimony numbers in these. We're currently waiting on the 1 metre results, which will really tell us what they are. But that's what the rocks look like, and that's the high-grade core, high-grade rocks in the basement of some of these pits. All of these numbers, all of these rocks are going between 10 and 15 grams per tonne. Just in summary, and before I move to the Micromine part of the presentation, we've just raised the money, which we've spent about $700,000 on this latest drilling program. We're going to be following up on that, and that will then, once we've completed that, that will then lead to a JORC 2012 resource for Camel Creek. There's never been a diamond hole in Camel Creek. There's never been a JORC estimate in Camel Creek, and the mineralisation extends over 4 kilometres. We've tested now about 2,000 metres, and in detail 1,600 metres, and every single hole in that has got some degree of mineralisation. I'll now just stop sharing this screen and move on to Micromine. So I'm hoping that you can see that. Cameron, can you confirm that you can see that?
Yep.
Right. So this is a software program called Micromine, and we use this for all of our geological modelling, planning, and compilation of all of the work that we do. This is an aerial imagery of the Camel Creek system, shows the open pits, and it shows the extent of the drilling that we've now completed. And you can see the red outlines there. That's the mineralised lodes as we've interpreted them. We've effectively gone to the historic grade control data that they've used for the mining of these deposits, and then we've contoured those up. So these are all +1 gram lodes that have previously been mined. You can see that the areas that we've tested here have extended over approximately, we've got from this point here to this point here, it's approximately 2 kilometres. The Hin zone target, which we had a look at the sort of cartoon cross sections here, that's located down here, but it sits outside of the previously mined areas. And that's certainly why I'm very excited about this project. You know, the assumptions being that all the known mineralisation has been identified by the previous miners, but that is not the case. These are adjacent to those, but outside. I'll just generate a couple of sections, a long section, so you can look in detail at the numbers that we've reported and the cartoons, if you like, of the sections that we've produced. So I'll first of all go to here. This is CCRC 50 and 54. So we draw a section line through there, and then we can pull that up. And you can see the calibre of these results. And we were following up just a very low grade intersection in one of our previous air core holes there, but there was significant quartz veining, significant alteration, and it looked really good. There was a metre at 8 and a metre at 11, but we thought, well, we'd better have a look deeper down. And indeed, that's what you can see there. So we've got some very, I'll just try to get something here, hang on. There's my little hand. So we can zoom into these. These are all 4 metre composite results. We're waiting on the 1 metre results, which the lab has indicated to us that we'll get by the end of June. So we'll compile those and release those. But these are the 4 metre composite results through here. Hole slightly drilled down the structure, and then we've come back with hole 54 here. And again, 4 metre composite results, 4 metres there, 19, 10, 0.65, and the 1 metre results will really give us a lot better resolution to that. We then go back to our plan display, and we can generate another section. And I'll generate a section of hole 63, which was the very wide low-grade intersection through here. And again, the mineralisation just continues through here. High-grade intersection there at 9, and the entire zone was 72 metres. So what sits beneath this, we don't know, but the type of work that we're planning to do in the next phase of drilling is to basically sit back about 50 metres and drill underneath that in that manner. And there's numerous sections like that that we're planning to do. And then if we draw a long section of that, and we had the cartoon long section, and we pull all of that information onto one plane through there, just bear with me with that. Whoops. And again, we just scroll through those previous intersections, all open at depth, all untested at depth. And so that's really the phase of the next program. The results that we released last week, they're in this area through here. So we've now tested this entire, underneath this old open pit, basically on 40 to 50 metre sections. We got some good results there again. You can see with hole 73, and we made the comment that we'd also drilled down that structure, but you can see it's consistently mineralised from the old open pit down to 120 metres. And again, none of this has been tested at depth. And that's the plan of the next drilling program. We also tested a long strike through here. These results here were lower grade, but nonetheless demonstrated the consistency of that mineralisation through here. 4 metres at 2, 4 metres at 4, and who knows what lies beneath there. Because what we know from the hinge zone is that at depth, things can significantly change. And we do find elevated silver, lead, zinc, and copper associated with the better intersections at this hinge zone target here. I'll just pull all that data from there onto one section. That's that southerly plunge that I was referring to previously, and we see that in the PowerPoint presentation. And all of this is now open at depth that requires significant drilling to really understand it. So that's effectively it from sort of Micromine and PowerPoint. But as I say, the program that we've got planned, just to give you a little bit of a feel for it, the green is the sort of collars of the holes, and we'll effectively test this an additional 500 metres further to the south. We really don't know what's happening in this area here. This was a lot of mineralisation was previously mined out of here. This pit went down to 30 metres, but I've got a hole there to test that on the basis of this southerly plunge principle that has been demonstrated here at the hinge zone. So perhaps if I now hand that over to Cameron, and Cameron, you can just give a little bit more, I guess, background as to where things are going.
Yeah, thanks Simon, and thanks for the opportunity, Peter and NWR, for putting the webinar together. So I guess what this session was designed to do was to give greater access to both Simon and myself, to get people understanding the drilling strategy of the past and what the future holds. But there's a slide there that Simon touched on, which I guess goes through the course of this last year, where we had a resource upgrade, a big rush. We drilled around about 12,000 metres. We're fully funded. We've got some exciting results at Camel Creek, and see a really exciting gold project, which, you know, we believe will be ending up a substantial gold project. We've got some follow-up drill program at the end of next month, to be followed by our first JORC resource at Camel Creek. In the next couple of weeks, as Simon said, we expect the 1 metre splits, which will be really interesting to see, you know, those detailed splits. For the next year, looking towards further drilling at the other 2 projects, and then towards a scoping study. But once again, Peter, thanks for the opportunity from NWR put together, and we look forward to more of these sessions in the future.
Thanks, Cameron, and thanks, Simon. It's good to get underground there and see it, the interpretation, the way you see those drilling results, which then make their way into the presentation. And it's a few questions that have come through here, but it's fair to say that it seems pretty clear here that the deeper you drill, the richer it's getting, hence the importance of the diamond holes.
Yeah, look, that's correct. I mean, we've got to follow through with that, if you like, in terms of our next program, Pete. But you know, I was ecstatic when I saw those results from, 50 and 54 come through, because they are wider and higher grade than what we've seen previously, either historically or the previous programs that we've completed.
And given that's the case, and those results do look good at depth, and it'd be nice to see what comes from the diamond holes, given that there's already a pit shell there and an existing mining lease, that must make you pretty excited that all of that work takes you a couple of years ahead if you'd been starting from scratch.
Well, it's a good head start, and we're effectively drilling underneath big gold geochemical anomalies that are defined by open pits. So it's by no means grassroots. It's almost like a fait accompli, a lay down misère in terms of drilling underneath these and demonstrating that the mineralisation continues to depth, which so far it has. And as I say, it was sort of beyond my expectation, the results in 50 and 54. And I was also, 63 was lower grade, but nonetheless, it was the largest intersection in terms of true thickness that we've seen, and it's open at depth.
And it's a great saying in mining circles that the best place to find a new gold mine is beneath an old gold mine. And you're demonstrating that here. And the language you've said here today in terms of scoping study, feasibility, resource, it looks as if you're really, in your minds, this is going to be a working gold mine here in Queensland.
Yeah, I think we're well underway. We've got a lot more work to do, but so far the results are pointing to a substantial resource at Camel Creek. I guess a large part of the work program last year was Big Rush, and we want to get back to there, but let's understand the Camel Creek mineralised gold system first before we go back to Big Rush, because I think there's a lot more upside here to be discovered.
Okay, and just a couple of questions has come through on the chat. One was about when you expect the 1 metre splits, but I think you said by the end of June or somewhere around about that time.
Yeah, I'm advised by the lab that's the end of June, and they're what's called ICPMS results. So it's fire assay gold, and it's also a multi-element suite of 48 different elements. And so that'll tell us exactly what the silver values is and what the antimony values are, and will just help guide it. And often with that type of data, you can actually contour that up in 3 dimensions and see if there's any vectors leading you in any particular direction from a future drilling point of view. Because these systems can be quite zoned, both geologically and in terms of the distribution of the other elements that are associated with that gold.
And I can put 2 questions here together. What are the key factors that would lead you to mining at Camel Creek? Is there any risk there that you perceive? And what was the reason the previous mining operations ceased?
The previous mining operations were just focused on what was called the soft oxide material. So that was effectively free dig with an excavator and heaped up on the heap leach pad. On the basis of where the soft oxide material bottomed out, which was between 25 and 35 metres. The strip ratio then got greater for them. They were also fighting a declining gold price. I remember as a young, not so young, but a geologist in 1999, and the gold price got down to about $240 US an ounce. And so these guys were fighting a declining gold price. So they finished mining here in about 94, and the gold price was about $400. But they'd reached effectively the economic limit of the open pit at that gold price.
And what any show-stopping risks here that you see that would preclude you from progressing this?
No, look, these are ungranted mining leases. You've still got to go through all the regulatory approval process to, establish a new mine there. We need to complete additional work on the metallurgical parameters of the project. What we know is there is a refractory component to some of this. There's some arsenopyrite and the gold's locked in solid solution there. But we see this as being quite similar if you like, to other projects whereby you produce a concentrate and you sell that concentrate. So you might not necessarily produce gold bars on site, but you'll certainly produce a good high-grade concentrate that you can then sell.
And which leads into this next question, and the last one here. Well, are there plans to drill Mike's anomaly near Big Rush? And also, how many ounces would you need for either a standalone operation or to consider toll treatment to fast-track cash flow?
I would have thought it's in the order of 250,000 ounces in terms of some sort of standalone operation. We've completed some very back-of-the-envelope numbers, and to produce a plant to produce a sulphide con is in the order of $25 to $30 million. In terms of Mike's anomaly, yes, we do. We need to complete a heritage survey before we can get the drill rigs on the ground. That won't be a problem. It's really just a function of prioritising where we think shareholders will get the best bang for the buck in terms of the expenditure and the financing that we have now.
Okay, and look, there's one here which I think is interesting, and to Damien from Townsville asks, will there be any site visits? And I think the answer will be, if we can round up a bus full of Townsville investors, you'd love to take them out there. But there's a question here from Alistair can you explain the basis of the Fosterville analogy and the implications of that?
Yeah, certainly. Fosterville is hosted by very similar age sedimentary tightly folded rocks. So that's Silurian in age. It has very similar metallurgy and metallogenic association. So that's a strong association with arsenopyrite and a strong association with stibnite, which is the antimony. Perseverance, you know, when they initially started, they had trouble dealing with some of that material from a metallurgical point of view. And it was only when Kirkland Lake started to really drill Fosterville at depth that they recognised that the metallogenic signature at depth changed. The amount of sulphide within the rock containing the gold decreased and the amount of free gold increased. But that occurred at about 500, 600 metres depth, where they defined what was called, I think, the Harrier zone, and they had 800,000 tonnes at 52 grams per tonne, which is quite incredible. But that's the basis for the analogy. Very similar metallogenic signature, very similar style of mineralisation in terms of quartz hosted and sulphide hosted, and similar age of the rocks and the mineralisation subsequently introduced. So we think it's a very positive analogy, and we're geologists because we're optimists, but it obviously needs further drilling to demonstrate that and to prove that or confirm that or discover that.
But a great aspirational target for both yourselves and for shareholders too. So we'll end on that question. Thank you very much to everybody joining us here today. I think we've got a really good insight as to what's beneath here at Camel Creek and what's to look forward to as well. Thank you, Simon, for your description and interpretations there, and Cam for your explanation and your outlook. If anybody has some further questions, please don't hesitate to email them through, and I'll put you in contact with the team. And we look forward to getting a bus trip out from Townsville at earliest convenience. So thank you all for joining us today.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you.